Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we're looking at the Operation Monster Force Kiloworg. This guy just sneaks into to 2024. We're late December 2024 now, and I got this guy just in time. So I'm opening him the day that I get him, and I got to get this video out so that I can sort of share this with you guys. But yeah, he's definitely eligible for the top 10, but let's see whether or not he is worthy of the top 10. First things first, the packaging. The packaging on this is a little bit disappointing, and I say that, after having opened other Monster Force figures that had that cool sort of, opening cardboard box, the opening flap with the comic book page on it. This is a bigger box. It doesn't have the flap. It feels really dark. So it's got a nice big cutout, but it's just on the front, and the box is quite thick, so you can't really even see what's in there. Plus, you got sort of plastic on plastic on plastic, it feels like. It looks like there's soft plastic underneath this slightly firmer, display plastic. Which you see oftentimes from import figures, but it makes for, not a great presentation in the box, if I'm being perfectly honest. The front is quite, bland, really. You've got that sort of concrete look that we've seen with Monster Force before, and the Monster Force logo. On the side, we get the Big Bad Workshop logo, number 10, of course, for the Kiloworg Night Hunter, Big Bad Toy Store exclusive, of course. Then we get the bio and that comic book page on the back. But this is a bit of a bummer, because what I've been doing with my Monster Force figures is just cutting that cover off to sort of keep that page. And it works okay, just for the sake of sort of collecting the pages. But in this case, it's the back of the box. It also has sort of the picture overlaps the page a little bit, which is kind of annoying. But, it is what it is. I'm about the figure, not the box, so I'm not too worried about that. We get some of the names of the people involved on the bottom there as well. Legalese on the very bottom, and then on the other side, just like on the sort of opposite end, we get some logos. So we get Maestro Union. So this is, of course, a crossover between, well, I guess Big Bad Workshop, Fresh Monkey Fiction, and Maestro Union. So you get Maestro Union. You get number 10 for the Kiloworg, and then the Fresh Monkey Fiction logo as well. So, a pretty underwhelming box, to be fair, but I am eagerly anticipating what's inside the box. So let's get this guy out of the box. All right, so I got the Kiloworg out of the box partially. He's not out of the plastic yet, but what is interesting or weird, or I don't know, there's no insert in this box. It's just brown cardboard in the back, which I'm not used to that. I can't remember the last time I got a figure that didn't have some sort of an insert. We also get this very handy card, which is great if you can speak, whatever language this is. I believe it is probably Mandarin. It could be Cantonese. It is very much Chinese language. Chinese is not a language, I know that, but but on the other side, it does have English. Toys are relatively tight when they leave, so they give you a little bit of a, hey, don't break your figure because it might be cold and have tight joints. What we did get in there, though, is this, and I didn't know that this was going to be in there. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with this, but it's sort of like this fold-out Operation Monster Force, Big Bad Toy Store, Kiloworg, Night Hunter, the Forgotten King has returned, Maestro Union. I don't know who these guys are or what's going on in this corner. But it's, are they trying to show somebody opening this thing and being like, what is this? I don't know. But yeah, so you get this thing in there. For what purpose, I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Let me get this guy out of the plastic. All right, so here is the Kiloworg out of the box. And I have to admit that my first impression was somewhat underwhelming. The figure looks great. The articulation's okay. The paint is good. But I don't know. I thought it was just gonna, absolutely blow me away from what I've heard about, the Maestro Union Veteran Williams And, you know, there's lots to like about it, but it's not, you know, my very first impression was not overwhelmingly like, wow, this is the greatest figure I've ever held before in my hand. So yeah, the figure itself, as I said, it looks great. The paint apps are great. The camouflage on the pants is really, really well done. You know, there is a weird, I don't know how to sort of explain this in a way that really makes sense. I prefer a more sort of cartoony aesthetic, and then by extension, you know, something that feels a little bit more like a toy. And when I get, you know, a lot of washes and a lot of dry brushing and things like that, it tends to kind of miss the mark for me a little bit. So this is executed really, really well. And I mean, the shading on the jacket, like the weathering and stuff like that, looks phenomenal. You know, the buttons are painted. There's plenty of contrast paint on all the fur bits and, you know, everything like that. But it almost feels like too much for me. As I said, it's a really great figure. You know, the figure is fantastic. But it sort of feels a little overwhelming in terms of the detail. The other thing that I noticed right away is he's not super stable on his feet. It took me a minute to even just get him to stand up. But yeah, altogether, I think this is a pretty good figure. And I think it might grow on me too. I admittedly, like, I'm just not used to this style of figure as much. It's only, you know, fairly recently, you know, that I've gotten into some similar stuff to this. But you know, when you come from like SH Figure Arts and Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, and just like the insane engineering and posability of those lines, and kind of vibrant colors, and you know, it's just a very different thing that I'm looking at here. Which doesn't make it good or bad, it just makes it different. So, you know, the figure is really, really good. The articulation is, you know, it's not amazing. You've got a single jointed knee, you've got a single jointed elbow, you know, you got bicep swivel, and, you know, the arm, the shoulder joint is got a butterfly, and rotation. So there's plenty of movement, there's plenty of articulation. You got a hinged wrist. You also have these redigrade legs, I think is what they're called. I always forget and or pronounce it wrong. So you've got a single jointed knee, but you've also got this single joint in here, and you've got a joint in the foot as well. So you do have plenty of articulation, and there's rocker in that foot as well. So, you know, I'm going to have to mess around with this, I think, to get the legs just right, to get him to stand just right, because the first couple times I posed him, his legs were all kind of wonky, and it didn't look right, and it certainly didn't look good. So I will have to mess around with them a little bit and sort of get familiar with how this figure moves and how this guy should stand. Because as I said, it took me a minute just to get him to stand, let alone kind of look good. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there for me, I think. There is articulation there's like a bicep crunch, as well as articulation at the waist. It's still pretty tight. I haven't added any heat to the figure, so I don't want to push it too far. I did notice that the head, you know, you can go up for a sort of more noble guess head, or you can go down pretty low with that, and then you got, you know, good articulation there. He can look sort of just about any direction that you want. There's sort of an extra fur piece there that allows for that, but it also kind of messes with these dog tags a little bit. So the dog tags sort of feel like a bit of a chore to get them to kind of sit nicely. But again, I think that's sort of one of those things where once you get used to the figure, once I sort of have some time with it, I think I might not notice that quite as much. Yeah, as I said, altogether a pretty cool figure. It's not immediately just sort of shouting top 10 to me, which I'm a little bit disappointed with, but I don't know. I guess I didn't know entirely what to expect from this figure. So So yeah, there he is. Now let me see if I can get him to stand up again. There. He's standing now, so that's good. Just for a point of reference, because this is an Operation Monster Force figure, here is another Operation Monster Force figure to stand next to him so that you can see the difference in scale. So this is, you know, a 6-inch tall figure. He's probably a solid 8 inches tall. So very, very big, bulky, mean looking guy. And I had to get it because I'm kind of hooked on these Monster Force figures right now. So anyways, he comes with a ton of accessories, and the accessories sort of allow you to change up his appearance pretty dramatically. So let's take a look at the accessories. All right, starting as I often do with the extra hands, we get sort of a trigger finger grip hand, and these are on a horizontal hinge. I would have liked to maybe get a vertical hinge on one of them at least, but you know, it is what it is. That's what you get. You get sort of a standard C-grip hand on the figure out of the box. The next set of hands is a sort of wide, you know, hand, wide open hand. And then I think this is, you know, for a werewolf, this sort of really wide kind of swatting, slashing type hand has a lot of potential to be a lot of fun. The next, you know, body parts that we get are alternate head sculpts, alternate faces. So you get the mouth open, snarling, growling head, and then you get the, I believe this is meant to be like a cigar or cigarette smoking head, but the little, this little cigarillo or whatever is bent out of the package for mine. That is going to be a recurring theme. Bent accessories is gonna come up a few times, unfortunately. Next up, as far as body parts go, we get alternate arms. So you know, this figure you can swap out a whole bunch of parts for a bunch of different looks, and one of those is gonna include you know, these came out of the box kind of funny because they are left and right. Like, I did get the right pieces. But I think they're like backwards. I think this should be like this and that should be like that. So there you go. Yeah, so you get those. Along with those, you get these two little rings. So these sort of are color matched to the arms because the ones that are in there right now are color matched to the jacket, just for sort of the aesthetic of it. And I like that they did that. I like that they sort of paid attention to the fact that if you put the gray arms on the gray torso with the green rings, it kind of looks funky. So, and if you change out the arms, you can also add this fur piece if you want to take the jacket entirely off. So that will sort of go on the shoulders. So you can go, you know, so you can go full werewolf, I guess. And if you want to go real full werewolf, you can also replace the torn camouflage pants with some furry legs, which look really, really good. But I genuinely don't think I'll ever run this guy full werewolf. It's just not why I bought this figure. So, moving on from those to, you know, why I bought this figure. So this is Operation Monster Force, of course. And so I bought it because he's wearing a jacket and camouflage pants and he's going to fight with soldiers and stuff like that. If you don't want him in that coat, you have the option of a puffy vest. That is very likely going to be the option that I actually use, you know, when I display the figure myself. Along with that, you get some bullet belt type, you know, strap things. So these are meant to go around the torso. Again, out of the package, this thing is like just kind of mangled and crooked and awkward. And again, you know, I mentioned the sort of paint. If you look really closely at all these bullets, they're all just kind of, it feels kind of randomly painted. Like it doesn't, I don't know. I mean, the finish on these is not that great. You know, this one's a little bit better, but still not that fantastic. Anyways, I will heat them up, you know, to sort of put them on the figure and put them together. Not for this video, you know, I don't shoot that way, but I shoot, you know, with the figure coming out of the box. I watched an unboxing recently where somebody actually mentioned that, and I thought I should probably mention that too, because, you know, when I get to the end and it's still all kind of like weird and folded and doesn't look perfect, you know, I don't take the time to kind of heat it up and spend, you know, hours with it. This bullet belt is the same. You know, the finish is kind of funny, and, you know, there's bent bullets, and the paint app is not consistent. But, you know, cool to get all that stuff. All those bullets, of course, go with this, which again is like, it just kind of, there's like bits that are kind of crooked, like the handle isn't straight. This doesn't sit straight as a result of that. You know, you can see that it's kind of just like twisted up and stuff. And I don't know. I'm not, as I said, I'm not entirely overwhelmed by my first Maestro Union product. I thought they could probably have these, you know, compatible with blast effects too, and they you know, that seems like a little bit of a missed opportunity for me. You know, this, I think the one that G.I. Joe Classified did, that's sort of similar in style. I don't know if it's meant to be the same thing, but I think the one that G.I. Joe Classified did is probably a little bit, you know, I prefer a little bit more than this. And then this bullet belt, which is meant to plug in here, I presume, doesn't actually fit. It's like the plug is considerably bigger than this, but I can't find anything else that would plug in there. You know, the bullets don't fit, and they wouldn't really stay in there anyway. You know, I can only assume that because this has sort of a, you know, a blunt end that looks like it should plug in there. You know, is that crazy to think that that's how that would work? I don't know. Anyways, there's that. We get a little bag with these little red shotgun shells in. And I'm not taking them out of the bag because I'm afraid I'm going to lose them in my very messy office. But you know, there they are. They are actually going to go into the belt. So he's got a belt that has, you know, slots for shotgun shells. He doesn't have a shotgun though. So it seems kind of weird, but I'll take it. I like it. You know, I like little additions to figures like that where you can sort of mess around with that. And I think my favorite weapon is this one. So you get this sort of Predator style double blade kind of claw, but it's super bent. It's super bent. Neither of the claws is really straight. I'm hoping that some heat is going to work that out. The little cuff, the brace, has sort of a similar problem where I think it's going to have to be heated up even just to fit onto the arm. I am going to try to get this on the figure to sort of, you know, show you what it potentially looks like. But as I said, I am not going to be spending the time to heat this. You know, the two blades are sort of curved in the same way. They sort of meet into one blade at the end, which is, it is what it is. I just, you know, out of the box, it's a little bit underwhelming. I would have liked if, you know, this stuff wasn't bent and out of the box. I was just like blown away by like how good the packaging and accessories and all that kind of stuff was. But I haven't been, so, you know, that's where I'm at with that. Anyways, that is all the accessories. I mean, it is a lot of accessories. It does sort of bode well for this figure overall, that you have so many kind of looks and so many variations that you can sort of have your figure set up in. But I'm going to swap some things out and, you know, see how far I get with accessorizing him and stuff, given that, you know, not everything looks like it's necessarily going to fit. And then I will come back with my final thoughts. All right, so here's the Kiloworg geared up and posed up a little bit. I don't know. I'm torn. Cool sculpt, cool figure, great accessories that aren't that straight. The swap was super easy. You know, the arms pop off easy. The forearms pop off from the biceps pretty easily. So everything sort of works really well in that regard. I definitely like him more in the vest than I did in the coat. But a lot of the joints in the bottom half are loose. His hip is fairly loose, and then the two lower joints on the leg are fairly loose. The knee is really tight, which is kind of ironic that, you know, 1 in 4 of the joints is really tight, and that's true for both legs. So again, you know, having a little bit of trouble getting him to stand, and now that he's standing, I'm kind of worried that he's going to fall over. But a very, very cool figure, and I think, you know, a little bit of like Kiki's joint solution or whatever that stuff is called, or however you sort of tighten up your joints, this thing would be phenomenal. I'm really digging it. I'm very happy to have this in my collection. As I said, you know, I'm kind of on a bit of a Monster Force kick right now. So definitely a very, very cool figure if you can get over some of the looseness of the joints. And I would say that if you like this style of figure, this is absolutely one that you should try to pick up. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you don't want to miss future videos, hit the bell icon to get notifications. Until next time, bye-bye.